I just listened back to a call replay. I was the client on the call, and it was in February of 2016. So I had just had my second son. My oldest was 4, and my husband was deployed. He deployed when my second son was about 3 weeks old for like a half deployment, which in our Navy submarine world means like 3 months. And listening to myself talk to my 4-year-old, I cringe. I could cry, like, for him and for me, because I was so impatient. I was just so on edge. I was so dysregulated, to use a term that I don't honestly fully understand just yet, but have been seeing a lot on Instagram. Um, I had no capacity really to like really be there and support him in his feelings the way that thankfully I do now when he's 11 years old. We love, I love being there for him. I love being a safe place for him to process and think out loud and be curious and ask questions and things. But I just am having such strong feelings as I'm listening back, because it's like I was on a call that I was paying for, and he was, playing safely in the home right there where I could see him. But for various things, he kept walking in. And also, what was complicating things was that he was like trying to have a conversation with my husband, who was at a port. So he was able to communicate, because normally on submarines, they're out, they're out. You can't really talk to them. Even if you could email, which is rare, it's like plain text email, no attachments, no certain buzzwords and everything. So if he was talking to my husband and then he got sad because they got disconnected and he was going to have to call him back. And so he's crying. And my main focus in this is like, I'm on a call, but like, you've got to wait. You have to wait. Can you just play with these toys? Like, I was just so thirsty for something for myself in that time. I was just so burnt out and on edge that I just had nothing left to give. And it's not nothing. I wasn't like a total beast, but I just cannot imagine talking to my kids like that. This, like, as snappy as I can get with them, like, just the level of awareness I have all these years later and 2 more kids later. It's just a different level. It's the spiral again. So I repeat, I absolutely lose my patience and lose my poop with, my family still, but there's a level of awareness that I just didn't have. And it's interesting because we can take time to notice the growth that we have, or, obvious, like if you're tracking your kids' growth and you see, oh, look how tall you are. And if you're tracking your business growth, or your Instagram or email list or whatever, like, it's easy to see those metrics. But what we don't often acknowledge is the emotional side of stuff and just the awareness. And I've had and done some podcasts, especially on Naptime Empires, around mom guilt. The gift of mom guilt is one of them. And I'm talking about how once upon a time I thought, oh, unsubscribing from mom guilt, great, like, never feel guilty. But that's kind of like not mentally healthy behavior, to just pretend like we're never going to feel guilty, or that there's nothing for us to learn from it, whenever we do feel guilt. And so I'm looking back and I'm thinking, okay, that doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel in integrity with me and how I want to show up for my kids. Were there benefits to him being able to figure out and sort through things? Sure. But also, he was 4, so I don't really want him to have to be processing all of his big feelings by himself. And I wasn't like that all the time. I know that I wasn't like that all the time. We even went to a play therapist for extra support during these deployment years. Um, so I know I wasn't always like that, but just in this moment, in that call, I just didn't have capacity to really see him and hear him. It's like so clear to me, 37-year-old me, that he just needed, like, I just want to invite him to come sit in my lap and snuggle while I'm on the call, which is what I would do with any of them now if they were upset about something, and I was on a call, like, come on in. Um, so it's just the reflection, and there's not I want to say there's not judgment. There's a little bit of judgment, but also just compassion for that version of me, for all that she was doing and trying to hold together. And little did she know what we were in for in the transition from full-time Navy life to Hawaii life and all of that, to like living in Texas and everything that we were about to go through. It's just wow, the changes that came in those next few years. But also it's those changes in those next few years that helped me go inward to soften in this way. Like, I didn't realize I was such a hard ass, basically, is what I'm saying. And I wasn't always like that. I know that I wasn't. He did snuggle with me plenty. Like, he was my buddy, you know. It was just us for so much of the time. But anyway, I'm sharing that with you in case it resonates and shakes something loose, especially like for the first kid, right? Like the first pancake. It's your first time and you're like, okay, I got to help you learn how to be independent, la la la. Whereas now that I have my littlest, I'm like, Ma, you're only little for a little while. This is not going to last. And then you're going to grow and then you need deodorant. You know, like, he's grown so fast. And again, I'm so grateful for the relationship that we do have, in that as even a tween, he feels safe coming to me with his big feelings now, despite this one moment when I was just not fully there for him the way that I would choose to be now. It's just, what a journey. Am I right? And what a moment, like, to have that captured in an audio that I can go back and listen to, where I'm capturing nuggets. I was listening to it because I'm working on my Naptime Empires book, which I was, you know, thinking about even then 6 years ago and 8 years ago. It's just, it's been a whole journey. But that's also why I'm grateful that I'm writing it now, rewriting it, okay, in 2023, with all of this perspective that I obviously didn't have then. You know, if I had written it then, if I had written it 6 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years ago, it would have just a different energy infused into it. And now that I'm writing it with literally 10 years of both motherhood and entrepreneurship combined experience, it's got a different vibe and a different, like, seasoning to it. And I'm hopeful that in everything that I'm sharing, I can, if you choose to buy and read it once it's ready, I can help you evaluate, observe, reflect on the way that you're showing up in your home, in your business, and feel good about it and feel grace for yourself. Not necessarily judgment, but if you do feel judgment, know that that's a message and an opportunity. It's like a notification on your phone where you can choose in or out. Is this how I want to show up? Yes. Okay, what are the benefits to it? Is it how I want to show up? No. Okay, what am I going to do differently? And then move on. And we don't have to make a big honking deal out of it. But I don't think ignoring it is the answer. So anyway, that's my reflection on mom guilt in the rearview mirror, and compassion and empathy for myself in that season of life, which was particularly challenging in its own ways. And for my little guy who just wanted to talk to his daddy on the phone and just needed a snuggle. Life. I like to think we're doing the best we can with what we have when we've got it. And I promise you that I will be sharing my lessons learned and my field notes to hopefully help you do that in your own way. All right. That's all I wanted to share. Talk to you soon. Okay, technically that was the end of the episode, but since you're still here, 1, I'd love to thank you for spending part of your day with me, and 2, I'd love to ask you if you would take 30 seconds, maybe 60, to leave a rating and review in your podcast app before you tap out today. If you've already done that, it's amazing. Please send me a screenshot so I can thank you personally, and know that sharing this episode with a friend has the same magical powers, and I deeply appreciate both. Also, in case you're listening to the end to see if I ever actually introduce myself, hi! My name is Nikki Elledge Brown. I'm the host and author of Naptime Empires and this here On Her Terms podcast. You can find me around the internet at Nikki Elledge Brown in most places, but what you may appreciate most is actually over at onherterms.com. It's what I call the insider library. It's where you can get inside scoop, first listen rights, email updates every time there's a new episode, and then special insider only bonus content. It's all over in our private feed. Okay, that's a wrap for real. I'll meet you in the next episode.